Root Elder Records, and this is Midnight, and we're here with...
I'm Graeme, and I'm from Homefront.
Where are you guys from, man?
We're from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
So, with your music, Homefront, it's a very interesting mix because it's like the alternative wave stuff, but you kind of got yourself into like the subculture with like Boy and stuff. So, like, how were you able to get yourself into that? Was it by accident, or was it just like purposeful, or is it something in your head that you creatively put together? Like, how was the process for that?
Well, Clint and myself, Clint's the other guy who's helps with all the music. We're both from like the punk scene. We're both from like, used to play in like a lot of hardcore bands. I played in another hardcore band called No Problem, and I've just been, always into subculture stuff. It's always been a big part of how I think about music and how I collect music and how I get into it. So when he approached me during the pandemic to like kind of do a different sounding kind of band, because during the pandemic we couldn't get together with all our bands, like with like drums and all that shit, he was like, hey man, I'm gonna do a synth project, and it's got like drum machines. Do you want to be in on it? And I just kind of started to think about it. I'm like, I do love later Blitz, and I do love like some of that kind of stuff. So we just started writing some demos, and then together we just started kind of making our own way of doing things. Like, he came at it more from the synth world. He also played an electro band called Shout Out Out Out, and that was like a synth band with like all live instruments. So it was pretty cool to see those guys. And then, so I knew he had the technical know-how, and I know fuck all about that stuff. So I was kind of like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. And then we started writing some songs that kind of sounded like Blitz, and then we started getting into like, later angelic upstarts kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of like weird songs from a lot of bands we love that, like, like I think about like Out on an Island by Coxbar, right? The song has like this weird synth thing in there, and Woman in Disguise by Angelic Upstarts, and like those kind of like on that record, like Reasons Why, there's a lot of like kind of crazy stuff. And obviously Blitz, like Second Empire Justice, and then New Order, all that kind of stuff started just kind of coming. So when we did the first EP and then we moved on to the record, we started going on a heavy dose of UK new wave kind of stuff, like OMD and Flock of Seagulls. Like, we just like fucking listening to them, being like, wow man, a lot of those guys you could tell were in the original wave of punk that kind of just like started to branch out and started getting into different types of songwriting, and you can kind of hear when you listen to those records that there's that kind of grit to it, and that was something we wanted to bring to the synth world, or we wanted to put some of those synths in the punk world. So it's just kind of like, fuck it, let's just try it.
And also I wanted to ask, you have a very interesting symbol that kind of confused me, because it was like there was the boot there, and then it was the planet. And then I was like, are they Oi or like something? Like, what are you guys? Well,
so
like,
that,
how would you call yourself?
So well, we often like the first, like one of the first reviews kind of called us like, they were like, oh, this is like a new wave of shoegaze. And then I just thought about it. I'm like, yeah, we're not shoegaze, we're bootgaze. So we're just like thinking about that, and just like, again, just the image of the boot on the street. Like where we're from, like when it gets winter, when you're like walking down the street, you can hear your boots because the concrete's frozen. And so we wanted the drums to be really fucking heavy, so it was always kind of like, all right, man, let's just fucking put a boot right through the earth. Fuck this shit.
So that's the meaning of the. So what's like? How would you explain the meaning of the symbol of your band?
Like the Homefront logo, or the
boot, and just like everything on that.
I think it was just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like. The song, it was more of like a representation of the song Nation that we had, and just kind of like, okay, here's the planet, and this is the subculture, and we were just like putting our stamp on it, and that was kind of what that was.
So what's the meaning behind the song Nation?
Well, Nation is a song about pretty much how like a lot of the people who are running our countries, running our cities, running like, it's kind of like gone beyond class war where it's just like rich versus poor. Now it's like elite versus the working class, and I think the whole point of the song is about how it's hard to get by and they don't give a fuck. And like for a lot of those people, you know, if groceries go up in price or rent goes, well, they don't pay rent, but like if property tax or all that shit goes up and it's an inconvenience, it means nothing to them. They got tons of fucking money. We don't. Like all of us are like working hard, trying to like fucking keep a family going or whatever it is, and you're struggling, and they keep squeezing it and trying to get more blood out of a stone. And that song has a lot to do with like how tough it is to get by, and it's just like you can scream at the nation as much as you want, but they don't give a fuck. And so it's kind of like looking at that and just saying like, hey, we're here, like this, we're the people who live here, and like, what are you guys gonna do when we can't afford groceries? We're gonna fucking tear this place apart. Like, what are you gonna do when we can't afford rent? Like, put us all in jail, or like, you know, like put us in, like, you know, we already have people who are struggling so hard that they're having to live in tents on the street and stuff like that. And like, what's their solution? Well, they don't have housing for these people, so they fucking like sweep them out with like fucking bullshit cops rolling through and chucking their tents in the garbage and all this stuff. And it's like, how does that help? These motherfuckers are going to be stuck out in the winter. It's freezing, and there's like, so it just kind of shows the lack of empathy or even care about people who are like struggling financially, right? And it's just like, it kind of, I think that song, I think maybe that's why it connects with people, is like we're all in the same boat.
So basically, your band is basically like all of the inspirations of music you listen to in one way?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think one thing is with Homefront, we're lucky in the sense that like we can literally do whatever we want. So if we hear something from a band that we really like, or let's say we're like listening to the band Suicide, we're like, man, I love how it's got this like rockabilly vibe with this really minimalist like electronic shit. Or you listen to Killing Joke, and like I love how like the rhythm is just so heavy and it's repetition. Or you listen to like fucking Madonna, and you're like, man, the synth bass is so sick on this song. Pet Shop Boys, fucking Rototom sounds sick on this. That's kind of what's the really creative and freeing part of this whole process, is like, do whatever the fuck you want. And it's just like, I think if you come at it with a certain attitude, I think it'll translate. It's just who we are. Like the punk side of things is just going to be there regardless.
So it's like, punks. So it's all punk with like everything from Oi to like Crust, right?
For sure, man. I mean, we haven't done a Crust song yet, but who knows, man? Maybe that'll be something we gotta get into.
So what was the process of the song? Like, what is the history behind it? Because it's like a fleshed out song. Was it like you made it and you were like, this is the one, or was it just like retaking it?
Not necessarily. Like when we make a song, sometimes I'll have a full song written on guitar, and then we bring it, and then I'll have the leads written out. But then I'm like, maybe that lead will be cooler if it was the synth part. Or sometimes Clint will show up and he's just got this like cool vibe to a song where it's like, there's a song on the album called Games of Power. I remember I walked into the rehearsal space and he came up with this G-funk bass line. It sounded like something like from Nate Dogg and fucking Warren G, and I'm like, what is that? So we got to do something with that. Like, that's like the fucking coolest bass line I've ever heard, you know? And so then once you start like putting elements onto it, it starts to create its own like thing. And then the funny part is like, I couldn't get the lyrics, I couldn't get the vocals right. The vocals sucked so bad for like 3 demos. And then finally, a good friend Nick Kozuk, who was co-produced with Jonah Falco on this record, he was like, dude, showed us this Ministry 12-inch where they did a dub version of Work for Love, and there was like no vocals except for like Work for Love. And shit, sorry dude.
It's good,
I got too excited.
We like that.
Work for Love, and then we were like, let's just do that for Games of Power, and it was just like, kind of came out like that. So I got too excited.
and the thing is like, you guys made a song, and that was like your top song, and you already had a music video on it. So like, what is the history of your band being built up?
So again, we started during the pandemic, right? So you gotta like remember, we started working on the first record, like, so Think of the Lie, we started that in 2020, came out in 2021. By the time that came out, we had already started writing Games of Power. So we just were like fortunate enough to kind of get on a roll. So when we did a music video, the first one was for Flaw in the Design. That just kind of happened because we had so much time. But when we did Faded State and then going into Nation, those ones had to kind of come together a lot faster. Nation happened in like Faded State, we shot that video in like the fall of 2022. That didn't come out till December or January, I can't even remember, but it took a long time for it to come out. Nation, we were like, we know that song is like in our back pocket. It's like kind of the one that we can, you know, have a joint video. Cal from Chisel, he's like, dude, we gotta do a video for the song. So we were like, okay, let's do it, but we gotta have a faster turnaround. So we actually busted that out in like three days. So it was just like, it was fast. I came up with some fucked up concept, and it was just like, that video turned out to be really fun.
So what was the process of it? Because it looks like a well done video.
So it's funny because that just has to go to show, like, that's a testament to how good the guy who shot everything was. We really just did it kind of like how you're doing this video, like this interview. It's just like one camera. He's just really good camera guy, really good at post-production stuff too. And then really we just had the concept of just like, okay, how can we make this special on our end? And it was like, Clint came up with the suggestion, let's get Gizmo Williams, who's like a CFL, Canadian Football League like legend, or Hall of Famer who lives in our hometown. And we managed to get him on in the video, and he just like fucking made our stuff kind of come alive. And then we had a camera guy in London, and he lived there, and he was like friends of ours, and he knew the Chisel guys. So he got them all down to a pub out there, and they shot all that stuff there. So really it was just like two different sets of footage all kind of coming together.
Wow.
So it kind of worked out, and I think, so if you notice, it's in black and white. We kind of like, all of our videos are in black and white. I think it's just kind of something that we just stylistically really like, but it really helped on Nation because then we could like color correct all the footage from the two different cameras. So it worked out for us, man. Like, so it was great. And big ups to Lyle Bell. He was a videographer.
What's his Instagram?
He's under Papa Needs a Nap. Papa Needs a Nap is what it's called. Look him up. He's the shit, man. And I'm sure he's willing to travel for people, but he did a great job for us, man.
Alrighty, is there anything else you want to add on? Anything you want people to know about the band or you?
I guess I just want to say, like, you know, Homefront's all about freedom, and we want people to feel like they can be themselves, and we want everyone to have the chance to get by in life. And so, you know, we just want to put our hearts out to everyone out there who are struggling, and I also want to send out some love to people in the Middle East that are suffering, and Free Palestine, and keep those people fucking, like, let's end this war, and let's get a ceasefire on this shit. And yeah, man, that's it, man. I just want fucking peace.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Packed all my friends in like a stolen car, bro. We drove down from.
Yeah, we also booked shows and stuff too. We're trying to get more into like the voice scene, but right now we just do like beat down.